Hello, Gooners, and welcome back to Arsenal Daily News. We have got absolutely massive news breaking out of the Emirates Stadium today. And trust me when I tell you, this is not a video you want to skip. We are talking about two explosive transfer stories that could define Arsenal's January window and shape the future of this football club. First, we have got breaking developments on Ethan Nwaneri, one of the most exciting young talents in European football. Personal terms have reportedly been agreed. Arsenal are now willing to let him leave on loan, and the club that wants him has just lost their star forward to Manchester City. This story has more twists than a thriller movie, and every single Arsenal fan needs to understand what is happening here because the decisions made in the next few weeks could haunt us for years to come. But that is not all. We have also got confirmation of Arsenal's interest in a 20-year-old midfielder who absolutely lit up the Champions League against us. Mikel Arteta was watching from the touchline. The scouts were taking notes. Arsenal are following him with serious intent. But there's a massive problem that could kill this deal before it even gets started, and it involves Inter Milan and a clause that changes everything. This is going to be a packed episode. Gooners, we are breaking down player statistics, analyzing contract situations, discussing loan clauses, and examining what these moves mean for Arsenal's title challenge. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications because Arsenal Daily News brings you the stories that matter most to Arsenal fans. And if you are already part of the family, make sure you drop a like on this video because we have got serious work to do today. The January transfer window is approaching fast. Decisions are being made behind closed doors at the Emirates. And by the end of this video, you will understand exactly what Arsenal are planning, what risks we are taking, and what it all means for our season. So settle in, Gooners. Let us dive deep into the transfer news that everyone is talking about. Come on, you Gunners. Arsenal Daily News. Ethan Nwaneri's future. The Bournemouth loan saga. Hello, Gooners, and welcome back to Arsenal Daily News. Today we are diving deep into a developing story that could have major implications for one of our most exciting young talents. We are talking about Ethan Nwaneri and the rumors linking him with a shock loan move to Bournemouth in January. This is a story that every Arsenal fan needs to understand because it says a lot about where we are as a club and how we handle our young stars. Let me start by setting the scene. Ethan Nwaneri is not just any young player. He is described as a special and phenomenal talent. This is a player who Arsenal fought hard to keep in the summer. There were serious links with other clubs wanting to take him away, but the club convinced him to sign a new long-term contract. That tells you everything about how highly rated this young man is at the Emirates Stadium. But here is where things get complicated. Despite signing that new deal, despite all the promises that must have been made during those contract negotiations, Nwaneri has only featured 5 times in all competitions this season. 5 times. For a player who was convinced to stay because he would get opportunities. That is simply not enough. Now, let me give you some context about why this is happening. Mikel Arteta is under enormous pressure to end the trophy drought at Arsenal. When you are the manager of a club like Arsenal, every decision you make is scrutinized. Every team selection is analyzed. Every substitution is questioned. So I understand why Arteta might be hesitant to throw a teenager into high-pressure situations when a club desperately needs to win silverware. But here is the thing that makes the situation even more frustrating. This season has not been kind to Arsenal in terms of injuries. We have had injuries to Noni Madueke. We have had injuries to Gabriel Martinelli. Bukayo Saka has been injured. Leandro Trossard has had his injury problems. Even Martin Odegaard, our captain and creative heartbeat, has been sidelined. With all these injuries to key attacking players, you would think this would be the perfect opportunity for Nwaneri to step up and show what he can do. But the numbers tell a different story. Despite all these injuries, Nwaneri has played just 267 minutes in the Premier League and Champions League combined. That is less than 3 full matches across our 2 most important competitions. And in those 267 minutes, he has made just 1 start. 1 single start. For a player of his talent, for a player the club fought to keep, this is simply not acceptable. Now, let me explain what changed this summer that has made Nwaneri's path to the first team even harder. Arsenal signed Ebereki Eze. The arrival of Ease has added another top-quality attacking midfielder to the squad. When Nwaneri was negotiating his new contract, Ease was not part of the picture. The landscape has completely changed. Suddenly, instead of competing with injured players for a spot, Nwaneri is competing with one of the Premier League's most creative players. This brings us to the Bournemouth situation. Bournemouth are not just randomly interested in Nwaneri. They have a specific reason for wanting him. Antoine Semenyo, their forward, has decided to leave the club. And here is the interesting part. Semenyo has chosen Manchester City. Despite strong interest from Manchester United and other clubs, he has made his decision. He wants to join City in January. So Bournemouth are looking for a replacement. They need someone who can come in and make an immediate impact. They need creativity. They need goals. They need someone who can help them maintain their Premier League status. And they have identified Ethan Nwaneri as that player. According to Sky Sports pundit Top Skills, and this is important, Bournemouth have reached an agreement with Nwaneri on personal terms. This is not just idle speculation. Personal terms have reportedly been agreed. That means Nwaneri and Bournemouth have discussed wages, playing time guarantees, and all the other details that go into a loan move. This is serious. The report also states that Arsenal would be open to allowing him to leave on loan until the end of the campaign. Think about what that means. Arsenal, a club that fought to keep him just months ago, are now willing to let him go. That shows you how complicated the situation has become. Now, let me give you my analysis of what Arsenal are facing here. This is a classic case of not knowing what you got until it is gone. Sometimes clubs take their young talents for granted. They assume the player will always be there, always be patient, always be willing to wait for their chance. But that is not how modern football works anymore. Nwaneri is without a doubt one of the best talents in Europe. That is not an exaggeration. That is not me being a biased Arsenal fan. This is a player who clubs across the continent would love to have. He has the ability to command a place in the Arsenal team far more regularly than he is currently being given an opportunity to do so. Now, should he be starting every single week? No, that would be unrealistic. He is still only 18 years old. The Premier League is brutal. The Champions League is unforgiving. You cannot just throw a teenager into that environment every week and expect miracles. But here is my question. Why can he not come on in games to influence them? Why can he not start every now and then when Arteta rotates the squad? We play a lot of games. We have Premier League matches, Champions League matches, FA Cup matches, League Cup matches. There are plenty of opportunities to give Nwaneri minutes. But by not using him at all, by keeping him on the bench week after week, Arsenal are taking a massive risk. They are risking the player becoming disillusioned with his role in the squad. They are risking him looking for an exit. And let me be clear about something. There are plenty of clubs who would kill to have a player of his caliber in their squad. Bournemouth are just one example. If he goes there and excels, and I believe he would, then bigger clubs will come calling. Maybe a club like Newcastle. Maybe a club like Aston Villa. Maybe even a club like Liverpool or Manchester United. Once you let a player like this leave, even on loan, you open the door to all sorts of complications. Bournemouth would give him the platform to show his ability. They would give him the minutes he craves. They would build their attack around him. He would be one of their key players, not a bench option. For a young player trying to develop, try to establish himself, that is incredibly appealing. Let me paint a picture of what could happen. Nwaneri goes to Bournemouth on loan. He starts playing regularly, maybe 25 or 30 games between January and May. He scores goals. He creates chances. He becomes one of the most talked about young players in the league. Suddenly, his value skyrockets. Suddenly, other clubs are offering him first-team football and big contracts. And suddenly, Arsenal are left scrambling to convince him to come back. I have seen this story before with other clubs. Chelsea have lost so many talented youngsters because they would not give them chances. Manchester City have loaned out brilliant players who never came back. Even Arsenal have made this mistake in the past. We cannot afford to make it again with Nwaneri. Here is what I think Arsenal should do. If they are not going to use him regularly, then yes, they should let him go on loan. but it needs to be the right loan. It needs to be a club where he will definitely play. It needs to be a club where the style of football suits him. It needs to be a loan with guarantees about playing time. Bournemouth could be that club. They play good football under Andoni Iraola. They try to play out from the back. They value technical ability. They give young players chances. Antoine Semenyo himself is only 24, and he has been one of their best players. If Nwaneri can replicate or exceed what Semenyo has done for them, it would be a brilliant loan. But Arsenal need to protect themselves. They need clauses in the loan deal. They need to make sure Bournemouth cannot turn this into a permanent deal. They need recall options in case injuries pile up at Arsenal. They need to stay in constant contact with the player to make sure he still sees his future at the Emirates Stadium. The alternative is worse. If Arsenal do not loan him out and continue to not play him, they risk losing him permanently in the summer. His contract might be long-term, but if a player wants to leave, they usually find a way. They can force a move. They can refuse to sign another extension. They can let their contract run down. Arsenal cannot let it get to that point with a player in Nwaneri's quality. Think about the bigger picture here. Arsenal are trying to compete with Manchester City and Liverpool. Those clubs have incredible depth. They have young players who are ready to step up when needed. Arsenal need to build that same depth, but you cannot build depth if you let your best young players leave because they are not getting chances. This is also about the message it sends to other young players in the academy. If you are a 15 or 16-year-old at Arsenal right now and you see what is happening with Nwaneri, what do you think? You think about leaving. You think about going to a club that will give you a pathway to the first team. Arsenal have one of the best academies in England, but that means nothing if the talented players do not see a future at the club. Mikel Arteta has done a lot of good things at Arsenal. He has built a team that challenges for the title. He has created a winning mentality. He has improved so many players. But his handling of young players is a legitimate concern. We have seen other young talents leave under his management. We cannot let Nwaneri be another one. The January transfer window is coming up fast. Decisions need to be made. Does Nwaneri stay and fight for his place? Does he go on loan to Bournemouth or another club? Does Arsenal change their approach and start giving him more minutes? These are questions that Arteta and Edu need to answer quickly. My hope is that Arsenal realize what they have. They have a special talent, a phenomenal talent as he has been described. These players do not come around often. You have to nurture them. You have to give them opportunities. You have to make them feel valued. If the Bournemouth loan happens, I will support as long as it is done properly, as long as there are protections in place, as long as Nwaneri knows he is still part of Arsenal's future plans. But my preference would be for him to stay and get more minutes at Arsenal. There are enough games for everyone. There is enough rotation needed. He deserves his chance. What do you think, Gunners? Should Nwaneri go on loan to Bournemouth? Should he stay and fight for his place at Arsenal? Or should Arsenal just start playing him more? Let me know in the comments below. This is a huge decision that could shape the future of our club. One thing is certain. Arsenal cannot afford to mess this up. Ethan Nwaneri is too good to lose. Whether he stays or goes on loan, the club needs to handle the situation perfectly. The next few weeks will tell us a lot about Arsenal's commitment to developing young talent. Thank you for watching Arsenal Daily News. Do not forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update on all things Arsenal. Until next time, keep the Arsenal faith alive. Come on, you Gunners. Arsenal Daily News, episode analysis. Hello, Gooners, and welcome back to Arsenal Daily News. Today, we have got some really interesting transfer news coming out of North London, and I am going to break down everything you need to know about Arsenal's latest midfield target. Make sure you stick around until the end because there's a twist in this story that could change everything for the Gunners. Before we dive in, if you are new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on all things Arsenal. Right, let's get into it. The Champions League campaign. First, let me set the scene for you. Arsenal have been absolutely sensational in the Champions League this season. We are talking about a perfect record here. The Gunners have won every single game in the competition so far. Every single game. That is a kind of form that gets people talking, and it is a kind of form that shows just how far this team has come under Mikel Arteta. Now, Arsenal are sitting on top of the Champions League table. Think about that for a second. Arsenal, top of the Champions League table, with a 100% win record. This is not the Arsenal of a few years ago. This is a team that is competing at the absolute highest level of European football and doing it with style. The most recent victory in this incredible run came against Club Brugge. Arsenal went to Belgium and put in a dominant performance, winning 3-0. It was a comprehensive victory, the kind that shows a team in complete control. Mikel Arteta's men deserve the win. There is no question about that. The match that started everything. Now here is where our story really begins. In that 3-0 victory over Club Brugge, Arsenal got goals from two players who have been crucial for the team. Noni Madueke scored a brace. Yes, you heard that right. Madueke grabbed 2 goals in that game, continuing his excellent form for the Gunners. And then Gabriel Martinelli added another stunner, because that is just what Martinelli does. The Brazilian has this ability to produce moments of magic, and he delivered once again. Arsenal won the game convincingly. But here is the thing. Club Brugge were not just there to make up the numbers. They actually caused Arsenal a few problems during the match. The Belgian side showed quality, showed fight, and they had moments where they threatened the Arsenal defense. And there was one player in particular who really caught the eye. His name is Alexander Stankovic, the player who impressed. Alexander Stankovic is a 20-year-old midfielder who plays for Club Brugge. And on the night when Arsenal came to town, this young Serbian put in a performance that had people talking. Even though his team lost 3-0, Stankovic showed exactly why he is considered one of the most promising young midfielders in European football right now. Think about how difficult it is to impress when you are on the losing side. Your team is being dominated. You're 3 goals down, and yet you still manage to stand out. That takes something special. That takes quality, composure, and character. And Stankovic showed all 3 against Arsenal. Mikel Arteta was watching from the touchline that night. The Arsenal manager was there, seeing everything unfold in front of him, and what he saw clearly made an impression, because according to reports, Arsenal are now following this player with great interest. The numbers behind performance. Let me break down Stankovic's performance that night, because the statistics really tell the story. This young midfielder played the full 90 minutes against one of the best teams in Europe right now, and he more than held his own. He had 67 touches of the ball during the match. That is a solid number, showing he was involved in the game and his teammates trusted him with possession. But it is not just about how many times you touch the ball, it is what you do with it. And Stankovic was impressive in that regard too. He completed 46 of his 52 attempted passes. That gives him a pass completion rate of 86%. Against a team like Arsenal who press hard and make it difficult to play out from back, maintaining that kind of passing accuracy is really impressive. It shows composure, technical quality, and good decision-making under pressure. But Stankovic was not just playing safe passes. He created 2 chances for his teammates during the match. 2 opportunities that could have changed the game. That is the kind of creative play that Arsenal have been looking for in midfield. The ability to unlock defenses and create goal-scoring opportunities. And here is where it gets really interesting. Stankovic had 6 shots at goal that night. 6 attempts. That shows ambition. That shows he is not afraid to try and make things happen. He is willing to take responsibility and have a go. Now, one of those was a big chance that he missed. He really should have scored. But the fact that he was getting into those positions to have that chance shows his movement and his attacking instinct. Defensively, the young Serbian was not just a passenger either. He made 6 ball recoveries, showing his work rate and positioning. He made 2 interceptions, reading the game well and cutting out danger. And he made a clearance, helping his team out at the back when needed. This is a complete midfielder we are talking about here. Not just someone who can play nice passes, but someone who understands both sides of the game. All of these statistics come from SofaScore, and they paint a picture of a young player who has the tools to succeed at the highest level. And that is perhaps one of the reasons why Mikel Arteta and Arsenal are interested in signing him. Arsenal's interest confirmed. So we know Stankovic impressed. We know Arteta was watching. But what is the actual situation with Arsenal's interest? Well, according to La and Arista, Arsenal are following the 20-year-old midfielder with great interest. This is not just a casual look. This is not Arsenal scouts making a note to check in on him in a few months. This is serious, concrete interest from one of the biggest clubs in England. The report reveals that Arsenal like his profile and potential. They see the benefit in signing him. And that makes a lot of sense when you look at Arsenal's current squad situation. The Gunners brought in 8 new players in the summer, which is a massive overhaul. But there are still areas where reinforcements could help. Arsenal could do with a new defender because of all their injury issues at the back. We have seen how injuries have stretched the squad thin in defense this season. But a midfield addition could also help. And this is where Stankovic comes into the picture. The midfield situation. Now, let me explain why Arsenal might be looking at midfielders. The article mentions that Arsenal lack cover for Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi. These are 2 absolutely crucial players for the Gunners. Declan Rice has been one of the signings of the season, not just for Arsenal but in the entire Premier League. His importance to this team cannot be overstated. He is the anchor, the player who makes everything tick in that midfield. Martin Zubimendi is another key player for Arsenal. Having quality depth behind players like Rice and Zubimendi is essential when you are competing on multiple fronts. Arsenal are challenging in the Premier League. They are top of the Champions League table, and they will be competing in domestic cups as well. That is a lot of games, a lot of pressure, and you need a squad that can handle it. This is where a player like Alexander Stankovic could come in. At 20 years old, he would not necessarily be demanding to start every single game right away. But he has the quality to contribute when called upon, and he has the potential to develop into something really special. That is the kind of signing that makes sense for a club like Arsenal. Someone who can help now, but also be a key player for future. The January transfer window. The Arsenal recruitment team are hard at work ahead of the January transfer window. That is when clubs can bring in new players to strengthen their squads for the second half of the season. Now, the article makes it clear that there's a good chance Arsenal will not sign anyone in January. After bringing in 8 new players in the summer, the squad is already quite full. The integration process takes time, and you do not want to disrupt things when they're going well. But at the same time, 1 or 2 incomings will definitely help, especially if Arsenal are serious about challenging for the Premier League title and going deep in the Champions League. The right addition in January could be the difference between success and falling just short. Arsenal are described as the Premier League leaders in this report, showing just how well the season has been going for the Gunners. Everything is clicking. The team is playing well. Results are coming. But maintaining that over a full season requires depth, and that is what smart January business can provide. The big problem. Now here is where the story takes a turn. You might be thinking, great, Arsenal want him, they have watched him, they like what they see. So just go and sign him. But it is not that simple in football. It is never that simple. There is a problem, and it is a significant one. Club Brugge signed Alexander Stankovic from Inter Milan. That is an important detail. The Italian giants let him go, but they were smart about it. When they sold him to Club Brugge, Inter Milan inserted a buyback clause in the deal. For those who do not know, a buyback clause means that the selling club has the option to re-sign the player at a predetermined price, regardless of what other clubs might be willing to pay. This buyback clause can be triggered in the summer of 2026. So Inter Milan have the power to bring Stankovic back to Italy next summer if they want to. And according to the report, Inter intend to use that option. They plan to activate the buyback clause and bring the young Serbian midfielder back to the San Siro. That means Alexander Stankovic is likely to go back to Italy instead of joining Arsenal. No matter how much Arsenal might want him, no matter how good their offer might be, if Inter Milan decide they want him back, they get first priority. That is the nature of buyback clauses, and it is why clubs insert them when they sell promising young players. Why this matters. This is frustrating for Arsenal on multiple levels. First, they have clearly done their homework on this player. Arteta watched him live. The scouts have been following him. The recruitment team have identified him as someone who fits their profile and could help the team. All of that work, all of that analysis, and they might not even get the chance to make a serious bid because of the clause that was agreed before Arsenal even entered the picture. Second, it shows how competitive the transfer market is at the highest level. It is not enough to just identify good players. You also have to navigate all the contractual complications, the buyback clauses, the release clauses, the agent situations, and everything else that comes with modern football transfers. Inter Milan were smart when they sold Stankovic. They protected themselves with that buyback clause, and now it might prevent Arsenal from landing a target they really want. Third, this means Arsenal might have to look elsewhere for midfield reinforcements. If Stankovic is going back to Inter, then the Gunners need to have other options on their list. The good news is that Arsenal's recruitment has been excellent in recent years. They have shown they can identify talent, negotiate deals, and bring in players who improve the team. So even if this particular move does not work out, you can trust that they will have alternatives. What this means for Arsenal. Looking at the bigger picture, Arsenal are in a really good position right now. They are competing at the top of the Premier League. They are unbeaten and top of the Champions League table. The team is playing attractive, winning football. Mikel Arteta has built something special at the Emirates, and the future looks bright. But to take that next step, to go from being challengers to being champions, Arsenal need to keep improving the squad. They need to add quality where it is needed. They need depth to handle the demands of competing on multiple fronts. And they need young, hungry players who can develop and become stars at the club. Alexander Stankovic ticks a lot of those boxes. At 20 years old, he has time to develop. He has already shown he can perform against top opposition. He plays in a position where Arsenal could use reinforcements. And he has the kind of technical quality that fits Arsenal's style of play. It is easy to see why Arteta and the recruitment team are interested. The question now is whether Arsenal can find a way to make this deal happen despite the Inter Milan buyback clause, or whether they will need to move on to other targets. Either way, it is clear that Arsenal are being proactive in the transfer market, always looking for ways to improve, always planning ahead. Final thoughts. So that is the situation with Alexander Stankovic and Arsenal. The young Serbian midfielder impressed against the Gunners in the Champions League. Mikel Arteta watched him live and clearly liked what he saw. Arsenal are following him with great interest and see the benefit in signing him. But Inter Milan's buyback clause could prevent the move from happening, with the Italian club planning to bring him back next summer. It is a story that shows both the promise of Arsenal's approach to recruitment and the challenges of operating in the modern transfer market. The Gunners are looking at the right kind of players, young talents with huge potential who can contribute now and become stars in the future. But sometimes the deals just are not there to be done, no matter how much you want them. What happens next remains to be seen. January is approaching, and Arsenal will have decisions to make about whether to strengthen the squad. One thing is certain, though. This Arsenal team is going places, and whether it is with Alexander Stankovic or someone else, they will keep finding ways to improve and compete for the biggest trophies in football. Thanks for watching Arsenal Daily News. Make sure to leave a comment below with your thoughts on this potential transfer. Would you like to see Stankovic at Arsenal? Do you think we need midfield reinforcements? Let me know. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this analysis. Subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you in the next one. Come on, you Gunners.